Hello everybody, welcome back to day 5 of 21 days breaking through the matrix programming. My name is Jona Bryndis.
And I'm Jeff Casper.
And we're airing from transCODES, energy healing and energy training. So we'll be your energy coaches here for this live training. We're going to share another energy work lesson with you. And if you have been following the past 4 days, then you may have already gained some cool new insights. Let me ask you something. How did the exercise or the homework that we gave you yesterday go for you? We asked you to write an apology letter to your true self, to that part in you that is the internal you, not the external you, not the one that you are producing to the outside. How did this go for you? And since you may not be able to respond to our questions right away because there was a little bit of delay here with YouTube doing this live, I'm just going to report a few responses that I received. Someone said, and I thought that was interesting, whether we are promoting self-pity with this. And I want to make a point here that, you know, going deep within and really making amends with yourself is not the same as going into self-pity. We've talked about the limitations of our perception yesterday and all these factors that our perception of ourselves and our conditions that determine how we see all that. And when we are in this place of victimhood and our life is basically happening to us, you know, when we're in this inactive state, yes, then we tend to go into self-pity. But the whole point here of this 21-day training is to get you into the place of empowerment, into the place of proactiveness, into the place of active self-healing. And as you have already noticed, we bring in the physical, emotional, mental, behavioral, spiritual, and energetic component. But there's one component that we cannot bring in for you, and I want to make a reference because I received this question here the last couple of days, and that is you actually doing it, this active part. And as some of you may know, we have a program called the Sacred Self-Healing Program, which comes with daily meditations and workbook to help you to stay on that path, on your journey, accompanied here through an entire community of people who go through the same lessons as you do. And so the doing part is something that we can only encourage here through our live videos. And what we are trying to give you here is a roadmap of how you can approach it. But I do want to point out that the experiencing part, you know, you actually experiencing this is something that has to do with your own commitment to yourself. And this is why we wrote this apology letter yesterday, to state our full intention, our true intention. We may not always be able to put this into the practical. We may not always succeed on a day-to-day level. But as soon or as long as we know what our true intention is and we remind ourselves that this is what we're working on and that we're recognizing the innocence of our past where we couldn't see these things, we are still on the path. So again, don't measure your success in whatever your goal is. Measure your success in congruence and how congruent you are, how willing you are to stick with your purpose.
And the letter also goes into self-acknowledgement, acknowledging everything that happened and accepting it fully. And that actually puts you into a neutral state as opposed to usually a very charged state where we go into the self-pity or the pain of what we did. So by going into that action of saying, I accept everything, I apologize, you move into a much more neutral state with your entire energetic process.
And this is actually a big part of the training here, namely to get you into this place of not only experiencing things for yourself, internalizing your experiences, as we are calling it, but also to really go into the self-motivated place that allows you to connect with your inner self healing consciousness. And we talked a little bit about energetic states yesterday and vibratory rates, and this has a lot to do with how you can train yourself to access that, because understanding that when you are in a state of, say, anger, or in a state of desperation, or in a state of fear for this matter, that you don't really have access to these higher vibratory or self-healing or self-corrective energies, as we call them. And so one of the things that I have come up with over the years here as a reminder for all of us is a small picture, or not picture, but like a quote for you to keep in the back of your minds when you run into issues that you cannot resolve, all right, or where you don't have a solution. And that is the reminder that the number one mistake we all do is trying to find low vibratory solutions for high vibratory problems or for high vibratory purposes. In other words, you will not find the answer in anger or in fear for solving, say, love or abundance or even healing, including physical healing. Those are higher vibratory energies within you, and you cannot access them if you don't know the mechanics of actually being. I have one hair here that's tickling my nose. if you don't know how to basically if you don't know how to access this place within yourself and how to experience that it's actually there. And so one more thing here in regards to forgiveness, as we spoke about yesterday, or as we contextualized it for you yesterday, there is a difference between, forgiving yourself for something that you couldn't see and for something that obviously you did see, but you chose not to do. So I want to remind everyone that there is a fine line, of course, between innocence and ignorance. And this new clarity that you are gaining through becoming aware of your internal experiences will then allow you to be much more conscientious about this. When, you're choosing something, and we're not talking about becoming the world's most spiritual person and doing everything right and being entirely perfect and always. This is not what this is about. It's about becoming aware of your choices, because remember, your choices are or is your power. And if you are in a lower vibratory state, you don't have that many choices. So if you bump into the situation where you feel like you don't know how to get out, you feel stuck in that place, then the first thing you need to remind yourself is that this very place is where you cannot find the solution. And so many of us here get into this place of endless seeking and looping into trying to find another, answer somewhere outside of ourselves.
Or combining old patterns of the mind and the emotions. So what happens is you get into this figuring out mode, this thinking it through, this analyzing, and that's all mind, that's all ego. And what we're trying to do is find a way to enhance not only your energy, but the options you have by aligning to that, to a higher vibratory state.
Yes, and this aligning to a higher vibratory state, as we indicated yesterday, has a lot to do with our ability to go into our heart field. And this is not just some spiritual woo-woo talk. There is a lot of science behind this. And when we go into our heart, remember the breathing sideways was your physical anchor for this. What you are doing is you're beginning to expand your internal, your center field, the center of your centers. And that's the gateway to these higher vibratory skills or higher vibratory talents that you have. Not so much maybe in terms of practical talents, but in terms of higher vibratory solutions that you can come up with, such as inspiration, such as self-healing or intuition as to what is good for you. And remember, we brought in the unmet needs here as one of the biggest aspects of our failures or inner sabotage sometimes. You know, if we don't know what our needs are, we cannot really tune into this. And it's very difficult to see the difference between our limitations, our ego limitations, and our ability to actually jump out of that, to out-vibrate that, as we call that. It will keep us in that clouded perception that there is no way out. And so the main energy technique really, in order to move into higher vibratory solutions or higher vibratory practical applications, is to understand that you need to learn how to shift your energy. And today we want to talk to you about how you can shift into a higher vibratory place by or through your willingness of letting go of control and embracing the true feeling that is underneath whatever you are experiencing, which is basically leading you to a place that we'll talk about tomorrow in more detail, that allows you to become the observer and the witnesser of your own experiences, and not so much just the experiencer, because the experiencer is the part in you that ties you to your attachments, that ties you to your reactivity, as Jeff just mentioned. And so how can we tune into our willingness to let go of control? And this is where it starts to get tricky here if we really imply all these different levels of existence. It's not just done through thinking our way through it. It's not just done through cutting our emotions off from our experience and sort of brushing it off or sucking it up. It's not done through that. We have to find a way that allows us to really feel when our energy is going into a dead end, basically. And let me ask you guys another question here. We're having a little trouble. Yes, we're seeing you now. Perfect. Cool. Okay. Wonderful. For a moment, or for those last 5 minutes, I thought we were speaking into nowhere. Wonderful. Thank you for being here, everybody.
Yes.
Let me ask you another question. Those of you who have listened to these days 1 through 4, have you had a thought or an insight that actually begin to show you how much energy you actually wasting on trying to be in control, be it mentally or be it emotionally or just be it through, you know, like in your daily interaction with others? Have you noticed how much energy you waste on trying to keep that upper hand with yourself? You know, to not go to these places that hurt, to not go to these unknown places that scare you. It's a massive amount of energy that goes into that. And this is the reason why we are bringing in the energy training here, because it's not just done with understanding this mentally. We literally have to rewire ourselves. Remember, that's why this process takes so long. Because it's not just done with, you know, getting it. It's not about getting it. It's about feeling it out and building reference feelings. Reference feelings that allow you to remind yourself, to call yourself into this higher vibratory state when you go low, when you notice that you go low. Or this will be the advanced version of that. Learn how to efficiently correct yourself after the fact. Because in the beginning, we mostly catch ourselves after we've already gone low. Yes, and I'm reading a comment here from you. The mental logic has been wasting, as the feelings cannot be heard, and
Mm-hmm.
it drains energy. Yes,
Yes, big time.
Matthew, this is huge.
Mm-hmm.
I was asked in a coaching session yesterday, in an energy coaching session yesterday, how come all this is so draining, my life, and trying to find, better ways.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason is not that life is so draining, it's our constant inner reactivity to it.
Yep.
And of course, the resistance that we have. And remember, the resistance we have has a lot to do with the limitations of how we perceive this. But you're absolutely right. This is like an internal war,
Mm-hmm.
an internal schism, a constant conflict and contradiction within, and that's what drains us. So it's not what happens in our life, it's how we react to things internally, and then of course all the fake stuff around that we create to either distract from it, or to hide it, or to run away from it, which links into our hardwired coping mechanisms, right?
There's layer upon layer, and as you keep releasing this, a lot of times in coaching sessions with people we have in the Heart Warrior group or whatever, they'll start to realize how much space they have, after they've worked on a pattern for a month or two, whatever, and they let a lot of the mental programming go around it, some of the emotions. All of a sudden they notice, like, man, I've got more time now, things are more peaceful. That's because all that drama that Matthew's talking about is kind of died down. And nothing wrong with that. You're just choosing to not go there anymore. And that's really, it's a beautiful moment when you realize how much time you can actually gain by letting some of this stuff go.
And how much you could use this kind of energy for more productive or higher vibratory goals or manifestation, right? Because if you imagine yourself not really spending these amounts of energy in just sort of dealing with things,
right,
or coping, better say, then you could use all this energy to produce joy, to tune into abundance, and to work with your creativity. And I don't want to make this sound too spiritual, spiritual in a sense of sort of daydreamer like, but that there are mechanics of success that have a lot to do with learning how to clear all the things that are in the way. So a big part of this shifting that we mentioned here earlier has to do with us realizing how much energy we're wasting, and then to go into this proactive step and say, okay, I recognize that I'm wasting a lot of energy. I need to integrate a regular self-clearing routine. And the energy work techniques that we introduced here for you since day one are all designed to help you to do this. So we start with the center and we learn how to go there, then we learn how to expand this, then we learn how to hold this place. And as you learn how to hold this place, there is a new level of perception that sets in. And this is the one that comes with our subject of today, and that is integrity. So integrity is basically the advanced version of congruence that implies or incorporates all parts of you. It is the part, or it is the state in which you don't have this inner conflict anymore, where all of your systems, resonate on the same level and are all working for you. And this can be accomplished through, what we've already indicated here, through two parts. One is the regular self-clearing, as we will show you today, how you can use your heart breathing for clearing, actually. And of course, the connecting within the willingness, to go past your ego's perception and to choose, to go into your heart. And as a result of that, and that's very important to understand, it is the consequence of doing that, you will experience integration, you will experience healing, and your entire energy will begin to resonate on that level of your internal healing consciousness.
And the other thing that will happen too as you do this, you'll actually begin to feel, and you may have already noticed this a couple times in the last few days, is that as you shift into that higher vibratory field of courage and willingness, it's almost like there's a self-sustaining part that comes with that, and that's very accurate. As you begin to shift into higher vibratory or higher consciousness solutions, you begin to feel that there's something else helping you, and that's that energy that's coming in, and it's not collapsing, it's actually expanding.
So clearing through the heart
Mm-hmm.
is, for most of us, at first almost like counterintuitive, okay? Because we have this notion or this idea that we need tools or things that help us to clear things out, and this is not entirely wrong. So if we are already familiar with basic clearing methods, such as the most basic one is probably taking a shower, accepting that we have to like sort of wash off the daily residue, or brushing our teeth. Those are things that we accept, right, as sort of physical clearing methods. But when it comes to our energy, it's really the same way. Every day we are exposed to energies that in most cases are lower vibratory, simply because the overall consciousness of our human collective, of the matrix, is lower than the goals that we have. So this is where the separation and this feeling of hostility comes from, is merely through the fact that our goals are higher than the majority of the people around us, which means that if we continue using the same tools as everybody else, we're not going to get there. Not because we're more special or superior or anything. It's just that the matrix programming allows us only to reach matrix goals, so to speak. And matrix here, we're using this interchangeably with the word collective, which is a little less judgmental. So if we want to reach happiness and fulfillment, which is not the purpose or part of the goal system of most people, then we cannot really use those suggested tools. So we have to go in and feel out in deeper layers what it is that needs to be cleared. And this picture that you see here is just a first idea for you of like what how your energy flows and where these exits are that you can work with. We have a lot of exits in our body that can help us to clear. And again, here the physical exits are aware to us, right? We have these places where we where we are allowed to release our daily leftovers, so to speak, or things that are not needed for us. And the same applies to energy. So as you can see by just looking at these arrows, there's a lot of different exits. But the one here, the green one, around your outstretched arms, that's the one we want to start working with, because that's the easiest one to locate through the heart breathing that we've already introduced, and also to use this as an exit, really. So remember when we talked about going wide, the reason for that was because it allows your energy to release things. So as you breathe out, always remember, to visualize energies leaving you. Okay, this is what we recommend you to do, just as an advanced version of the I am breathing, to consciously use this as a clearing technique every day. Or as Jeff mentioned yesterday, as a sort of energetic first aid, when you feel, your heart rate is increasing and you're starting to get stressed, to remind yourself to go into this place. But on a deeper level, there's more purpose to that, and that is actually helping your energy system to get rid of some of these overlays, some of these faulty perceptions, or some of these excess mental or emotional energies. Right, that's one part. The other part is, of course, and this is why we love the I am breathing so much, is to actually go into your center and to stay there and to feel sort of into this place, this safe place, and to observe things from there. So kind of like, what is actually going on? How do I truly feel about this right now? And if you don't know how to slow down yourself just enough to actually remember to do this, you'll barely have any opportunity really to access your higher vibratory skills or solutions in you. Remember yesterday I said the solutions for your goals or for your purpose, they're already in you. And we need to learn how to trust this more. So here with this lesson, we are sharing with you the practical steps to getting to this place where you can learn to trust this. And how do we learn to trust? Through experience, through experiencing it firsthand. Okay? And so these these implementation steps that we will show you right now have a lot to do. You'll see this. They have a lot to do with staying in your heart and observing, but releasing at the same time, because this is something that will help you to gain more clarity about what your true needs, what your true desires, what your true feelings are. And then later this will lead you to becoming able to express this more. All right? So let's go into the implementation on a physical level. I really want you to, if you have the chance this week, to learn how to breathe through a physical pain or a physical stress. This doesn't necessarily have to be like pain as in like you cut your finger, but maybe when you feel your physical, your body to go really, really tense. I want you to apply this there, and you don't have to go into the clearing part as of yet. It's enough for you to practice just staying there and breathing through it. So the proverbial breathing through this, we want you to practice this on a very physical level today.
Yep. And then emotionally, as that keeps going, also to just, as you sit with that pain or that tension or that constriction, you begin to feel as well. Just feel it. Feel what's coming up. Feel how it is. What emotions are tied to it. What patterns are up. That's fine. The practice is getting out of thinking and going into feeling. Getting out of emoting and going into feeling. So by sitting there and breathing through the heart and sitting with it, that's a great practice.
And just so you know, on a neurological level, by doing this, you are building new neurological pathways. You're allowing yourself to feel. And some of you know this. There's another quote, and that is links in here, and that is, you can only heal what you can feel. So a lot of our coping mechanisms and false perceptions have to do with avoiding to feel certain things. And so we're trying to help you retrain, your not just your willingness, but also your practical ability to actually stay there and really feel, ooh, this hurts. Ooh, I'm feeling anger come up. Ooh, I notice how much control I am right now. Okay, to just sort of start accepting, where your energy is going, because the more you can let go of your ego's need to control this and to judge all this that is going on, the better you'll be able to tune into that witnesser observer mode that you have, and that will be the one frequency that will allow you to tune into those higher vibratory solutions within. And therefore, with every time you trust in that, you will gain more confidence in allowing yourself, and also in letting go of the control. And so mentally, here to get your mind in the boat, really, and to convince your mind to work with you on that. It's important to understand that you don't have to have the solution. You don't have to. In fact, you can't. So if you admit to yourself, like, whoops, and this is a mental step. I'm in anger right now. Okay, if I'm in anger, any solution that I could possibly come up with right now is based on anger, right? Is that the same as my goals? No, my goals are love, abundance, healing, joy, and so forth. So you got to understand, and your mind can understand that if you, remain on where you're at and you're seeking a solution where your energy is at a given point, you limit the solution to that energetic state. So that's a sort of a mental process there. And behaviorally, this is something, and this will also be your homework for tomorrow, where we need to learn how to express this, and which means to actually verbalize this. And my tip for you here is cut yourself a lot of slack. This won't go easy. You won't be able to get this done in one day. But what I want you to practice is to actually say out loud when that applies, I don't have the answer right now. I don't know the fix right now. I don't know how to get there right now. But at the same time, to remind yourself of the purpose, of the higher vibratory goal that you have. But I'm working on it.
That's a huge one. Yeah.
Just to give you a benchmark, this took me probably like 20 years to be able to actually say those words, I don't have the answer right now. But see, maybe you can feel this already just watching us here. There is a huge difference between running away from a problem because you feel like you can't solve it and you get overwhelmed by the fear or by the emotion, the pain maybe that comes with that. Or stating, yeah, that's a problem. I don't have the answer right now. You may be able to feel this in your stance. This will help you to rewire and to trust within yourself.
And I noticed it too when I started to do that with my patterns, that I started to relax a bit. Every time I said that mental program I had to fix things, to go after things, to solve, to get the solution immediately, to react basically started to relax. And as that happened, then I could begin to feel more of those things that we're talking about, going more into the heart. It actually enhanced that by saying those things. It was beautiful.
Yeah. And energetically, the practice that you can develop here is something that many of you are probably not even aware of, but to let go of seeking guidance, seeking vision, seeking solutions. That's something we need to rewire as well, because guess what you're reinforcing, what you're re-energizing by seeking? You're re-energizing the externalization. Even if you're seeking visions from within, as soon as you go into this mode of seeking, you're pushing into it and you're pushing it away. So energetically, and especially for those of you who are already a little more aware of where their energies goes, keep a close eye on that when you go into seeking. And instead of seeking, go within and let go and say, okay, I'm not in control. I don't have the answer right now. I'm just going wide. I'm just focusing on being instead of trying to do something. I'm just focusing on being in my center and expanding that place, clearing some things out that come to my attention, and then holding it, being there. Because this is the place that you become able, or that your energy begins to invite higher vibratory illusions to come in. Cool to see your guys' comments and your guys' names. Wonderful. Thank you. Yeah. Transmission modality or energetic training modality that we recommend for this particular lesson is called Grace Integrity. And as all transmission modalities or energy training modalities here at transCODES, that can be booked in form of a individual or private session, or whenever we have them on the schedule for a public session, which is a little cheaper. Hope to see you in one of those for the deeper work. So your homework for tomorrow is to overcome your ego's pride and to say out loud, even if you just say it to yourself or write it into your journal, I do not have the answer right now. And the energy work technique is one that will prepare you for sort of the advanced version of letting go, which is surrender. But at this point, we really just want you to hold this place within and remind yourself that there are higher vibratory solutions there, that the only reason why you can't feel them or come up with them right now is because your energy is not vibrating at the right frequency yet. And so to remind yourself to go into this shift and to out vibrate the problem, that's the only thing really that you need to focus on. And then in future, you'll notice that the reason for Jeff calling this energetic first aid is not just to get out of stressful situation or to get out of your activity, but also as a bridge into your higher self-healing consciousness. We call this grace. And grace not in the religious sense, but grace in the sense of your inner divine connection. All right, the connection to the divine field. And for those of you who enjoy sort of higher metaphysical concepts here, the separation that we experience from source, from God or divinity, if you will, has to do with this inner conflict that Matthew mentioned. All right, the conflict really is our dualism as humans, that we believe that our ego is what runs the show. Okay, but those of you who've done some metaphysical or spiritual work know that there's a larger perspective to that. And when our ego runs into contradiction with the divine field, that's when we feel separated. And guess what? Because we are literally making our ego, we're putting it over God, so to speak, or over our higher vibratory divine connection. That's what's underneath this problem on a spiritual level. So understanding that every time you subdue yourself to your ego's power, you basically negating the divine power going through you, and that can be painful. This is a lot of the pain that energetically sensitives or awakening people in a spiritual emergence experience, is that separation. And that comes because we are basically still believing in our ego. In context with your purpose, just on a side note here, when your personal purpose becomes congruent and integrous with the divine purpose, that's when you begin to feel what it's like to be without resistance from within. But we're going to get there later. For now, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like this video. So with every video, we're asking you to smash the like button, because it's not like a series. They're all individual videos here. And share our videos. Talk to people about this. I've received so many emails of people who've watched this with their spouses or with their friends, and they had some really cool conversations starting. Share some of those conversations here in the commentary, and don't shy away from asking questions if there were things that you're not fully understanding.
Please do.
Thank you so much, everyone. Have a wonderful day. We see you here tomorrow, same time, for day 6, and we're going to talk about how to link into this greater vision and the higher perception that also resides in us that we cannot fully trust yet. So looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.